Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahabatihi wa mawalah. Amma ba'd. So today, inshallah, we're going to continue commenting on principles of Tafseer written by Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And we reached a point where he was rahimahullah talking about the types of or the sources where we can find the narrations or the reports. And he mentioned, as we talked about before, that we have 4 types where we can find these reports or narrations. The first type is what we call hadith, and we talked about this. And the second one is what? And the second thing is al-maghazi. What is al-maghazi? Al-maghazi jam'u ghazwa. Expedition. So this is a translation. I'm saying, what is it? Define it. Yes, Abdullah. The travels of the Prophet ﷺ, things related to his travel. So then we have a seerah. What is a seerah? The biography of the Prophet ﷺ. And lastly, we have a tarikh. And then the books of Tafseer are either to be reported, narrational, or to be unnarrational, meaning that they are deduced. Now, he says, rahimahullah, that he said that it is known, it is translated more or less. He says that it is also known that many narrations in Tafsir are similar to narrations about expeditions and history. This is why Imam Ahmad said, these 3 things contain no chain of narration: Tafsir, expeditions, and history. This is because the majority of narrations are marasil, such as that which is mentioned by Urwa ibn Zubair, al-Sha'bi, al-Zuhri, Musa ibn Uqbah, ibn Ishaq, and those who came after them, such as Yahya ibn Sa'id, Walid ibn Muslim, al-Waqidi, and others who authored in history and expeditions. So what the author rahimahullah is saying, that the majority of that which is reported in a tafsir is similar to that which is found in the books of expeditions, as well as al-malahim. Al-malahim, they are included into maghazi, but al-malahim has two terminologies or 2 usages, 2 terminological usages. The first usage is that when we talk about al-malahim, then we're talking about wars that are going to happen between Muslims and non-Muslims. So this is the first usage of the terminology. The second terminological usage is that when we talk about al-malahim, then we're talking about wars happen in the past, but they are not, skirmishes or small wars, but big wars on a big scale. Wars happened or occurred on a big scale, we call them malhama, because al-malahim is a plural of malhama, and al-malhama is a war that is too big because flesh mix with each other, and also there will be a lot of loss of flesh because of a lot of killing. So al-Arab, they call it malhama. And in mythology, they have also one usage, but it's not in our usage. In mythology, when they are talking about malhama, they are, Herodotus, Homeros, Homeros, the Greek, and the Greek hero in the Greek mythology. They call these malahim, asatir. Okay, the things that they call saga, but this is not in the terminology that we use. So Islamically speaking, when we use al-malhama, it has 2 terminological usages. First is that wars that will happen at the end of times eschatologically, like Armageddon, مثلا. These wars that they will happen between Muslims and non-Muslims, these are called what? at the end of times, at the end of the time. They called malahim. ولهذا you will find مثلا in the book of Abu Dawood, he called al-fitan wal-malahim. Al-fitan meaning disputes, wars that are taking place between Muslims. And al-malahim, disputes, wars that are taking place between Muslims and non-Muslims, but at the end of days, at the end of time. Another usage, another terminological usage, is that we're talking about wars, battles, big battles that happened in the past, not small ones. Yeah, they were big in terms of the size, in terms of the influence. Then we call them wars. Malahim, malhama, terminologically speaking. Now, so what do you say, rahimahullah, that what we find in the books of Tafseer, they are going to be similar to the types of stories, reports, narrations, where we can find them في المغازي والتفسير والملاحم. الملاحم يعني big wars that they happened in the past. Why is rahimahullah referring to this? يعني what's the point of this? He's saying rahimahullah that there are multiple ways we can know the authenticity of a narration, even if there is no connected chain. Sometimes it is possible that two absolute liars will tell you something and you will believe them. It's actually impossible for them to lie if they tell that story. Okay? So there are multiple ways that we can authenticate a narration, and he will talk about this. Since this is the nature of the narrations that they are found in a tafsir, he says that this is the same, these are the same narrations that you're going to find them in al-malahim and in al-maghazi. Why, ya ikhwan? Because I'd like you to know that now, we in the science of al-hadith follow a methodology, tariqah, manhaj, that to accept or reject a narration. So the acceptance or the acceptability of a report or a rejection of it is based upon a methodology. Okay? And this methodology is very sophisticated, very elaborative, and it's very shaped. Okay? As a consequence of this methodology, the rulings of the acceptability or rejectability is going to be applicable, right? In the science of history, seerah, maghazi, malahim, tafseer, we use the methodology, the principles of the methodology. However, we don't use the rulings. Okay? So you need to distinguish between hadith that is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ and seerah, maghazi, malahim, tafseer, and history. You need to distinguish between these two things, because these are two different subjects, these are different fields. So you need not to conflate them. The way of Ahl al-Hadith, the way of the Muhaddithun, they will utilize the principles of the methodology of Hadith. Okay? In these subjects, but not their rulings, or not its rulings, not the ruling of the methodology of al-Hadith. What does that mean in a very simple language, in order not to delve into the technicalities? Now, what is the backbone of the methodology of ilm al-Hadith? What is it? Chain. Okay, chain. So then the backbone is the chain. Now, what is the chain? سلسلة الرواة الموصلة إلى المتن. The transmitters who lead to the actual statement, right? So then, for Ahl al-Hadith, The methodology works on the chain. It deals with the chain. It examines the chain. It begins from the chain. It returns to the chain. There are multiple considerations that are going to be talked about. But like if you're talking about physics, it means that you're talking about matter. Okay? Now, if you talk about physics, then you have two major things. Whether that you are in the first grade studying physics or you are in NASA doing your experiments in the lab. Okay? What's your focus on? Your focus on matter, energy. You know, matter, energy, because you need to know how matter moves. Okay? And the rest is physics. But without matter, energy, which is movement, then there is no physics. Now, the composition of matter is the concern of chemistry. If you're talking about life within it, then we call it biology. But there is something it is the backbone. For ilm al-hadith, the backbone of it, the matter, the subject matter that they look at, examine, stem from, return to is what? Chain. So then, they have a methodology of dealing with the chain. What is the methodology? What is the methodology? They need to make sure the chain leads them to the actual statement. The chain leads them to the actual statement. Okay? If there is no chain, there is no actual statement. For them, for the people of Al-Hadith. So therefore, what's the ruling? No chain, no statements, and therefore rejectability. If there is a chain, there is acceptability of the thing to be examined, and it might be acceptable as a statement. Is that harbored and understood? They have different methodology when it comes to history, malahim, maghazi, as well tafsir. What do they say? We're going to use the principles of the methodology. What is the principles of the methodology? We're not concerned. We're talking about the principles, not the subject matter. Acceptability and rejectability. That's the principle. Is the news, is the report, the narration, has the capacity of being acceptable or not? They are not. So they are using the principle, not the subject matter. So they use the rulings, they use the manhaj, but not the rulings. ليست الأحكام. ليست من الأحكام. Clear, or you find it difficult?
The issue is
ولهذا يعني look, anybody who uses, now if he uses the methodology of ulama al-hadith and their rulings to examine history, then you can say more than 3/4 of Tariq ibn Jarir gone. You don't have seerah, you don't have tariq, you don't have maghazi, you don't have malahim. واضح? You need to distinguish. يعني مثلا we can accept a person like Muhammad ibn Umar al-Waqidi. Okay, Muhammad ibn Umar al-Waqidi. We can take him as trustworthy where in a seerah and al-maghazi, but not the same في الحديث. في الحديث متروك. Like if you might be أنت الآن مثلا, what's your major? مثلا computer science. In computer science, you are مثلا reliable, trustworthy, authoritative. But for biology, you are what? متروك. نقول متروك. So the principle is what? Is what he's saying has the capacity of being acceptable or not? But we won't use the methodology of confirming information in biology and to be applicable to you in computer science. Okay? We're going to use the principle of the methodology, which is the acceptability or the rejectability. But the rulings there won't be applicable here. because you're talking about two different subjects. That's the rationale عند علماء الحديث. Once this is understood in your mind, you're going to understand what Ahmad says. الإمام أحمد رحمه الله says كما نقل عنه ذلك أبو طالب المكي أبو طالب الشامي. He says ثلاثة أمور ليس لها إسناد التفسير والملاحم والمغازي. He says three things contain no chain of narration: tafsir, expeditions, and history. It does not mean that they are rejectable. What he's saying, rahimahullah, we won't use the backbone of hadith. We don't use we use different methodology. Those people, they know how to report. They don't go. There is a difference between history, seerah, maghazi, of how to approach them and how to approach hadith, that which is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, or attributed to Sahabi, or attributed to a follower. Okay? Why is that? Ikhwan? Because the nature of the news, the nature of the reports there are not the same as the nature of the reports here. مثلا يا إخوة, do we use the science of al-hadith, in confirming what is taking place in daily reports, daily activities? There is a bridge fall here, a person is killed, another person is arrested, there is a political scandal here, وهكذا. Prices go up, prices go down. Do we use like this? If we use the science of al-hadith, we won't believe anything. Okay? You would demand change. But this is not the way that we deal with different subject matters. I hope, inshallah, it is clear. Yes, Sadallah.
So, Shaykh, what makes the reports in Tafseer Maghazi being acceptable and not? What makes it?
We will talk about this, inshallah. But you need now to understand the difference of nature of these types of reports. مثلا, if someone comes to you now and says that person graduated from that university, he says that person whom you know graduated from this university. How to confirm this? And the person who is saying this to you is very trustworthy. Very trustworthy.
Shaykh, wouldn't you need a chain to know if the person is trustworthy or
No.
not?
For you, that person is trustworthy. Do you need any chain here in order to confirm what he's saying? How can you confirm that this event took place? No, it's even easier. You can go and ask that person, right? Or you see him goes to he is employed in a job, which that most students who graduate in this subject from this university, they go to this university. Now, is there any ruling going to happen because of you knowing that person graduated from this university? What you're trying to confirm here is what? That this event took place. Okay? Because anything that happened in the past, in a very simple language, we would call it history in this context. So all what we're trying to do is to say that person graduated from this university. So there are multiple circumstantial signs would make you believe that this event took place, this action took place in a moment of history, in a moment of time. واضح? Do any chain. You don't need chain. As opposed to attributing a statement or action or approval of the Prophet ﷺ or a Sahabi or Tabi. So the nature of the news, the nature of the report will determine how it is approached. But in both ways, what is the principle? The acceptability or rejectability. Yani what does that mean? That you don't just, if it is said, you would take it. There is a principle of the methodology of to accept or not accept. But the rulings there are not going to be applicable. واضح إن شاء الله. That's why he said رحمه الله. He said because the majority of them لأن الغالب عليها المراسيل. يعني مثلا, do you remember the story when I related to you the story of Abu Jahl, Al-As bin Wa'il al-Sahmi, and Abu Sufyan and the Akhnas bin Shariq al-Thaqafi, when they used to go and to listen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they used to listen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting, and when they returned they would encounter each other, right? Now this story is mursala because Muhammad ibn Ishaq reports it from Zuhri. No chain, there's no connection. Zuhri rahimahullah tabi'i, not even sahabi, and he is also from sighar al-tabi'in. But everybody amongst al-muhaddithun, they accept that this story took place. ولهذا the author rahimahullah said, because the majority of narrations are marasil, يعني in al-tafsir, in al-maghazi, in al-malahim, because we're not dependent on the chain. Okay, we're not concerned about the actual numbers. We're not, concerned about the actual place because there are no rulings to be deduced. It's history. We're talking about history. Something took place. يعني الآن مثلا, can anybody here say for surety that when the framers, the founding fathers they call them, when they gathered in Philadelphia to write the Constitution, it took them about 4 months, right? It took them about 4 months. And when they wrote the Constitution, there were disputes, okay? There were multiple reports about the disputes and how they compromised, how they reached out the conclusion, right? For you as a historian, what you need to confirm is that these disputes happened. But specifically about what and the details about that specificity is what is not your concern as much as you confirm that disputes happened with some specificities. The details are disputed, history. We call it history. Clear? As opposed to if it is reported from the Prophet ﷺ, where you will have rulings. Like if you have a report about a criminal offense. If you have a report about a criminal offense where there would be rulings going to ensue, as a consequence of this, you need to make sure to the best of your ability that you can confirm that the incident happened the way that it is prescribed or described. Clear? So the nature of what you report will determine how you confirm it. فإذن he says that the majority of these are marasil. Now what is al-marasil here? What does he mean? He does not mean only that we don't have sahabi. يعني التابعي will say the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said. لا, marasil here يعني منقطعات, يعني disconnected reports. Disconnected reports. ولهذا الآن, if you are going to use chains to apply it to any type of history, you won't have history. The majority of human history is not reported through chains. How is it reported? Sometimes it is taken through generations. Sometimes it is just taught. Sometimes a person will know the history he will go and investigate. Or because he witnessed that, so that he is the reporter. So for him it was history witnessed. For others it was history reported. So it could be history that was witnessed. It could be history that is reported. So because of this, the vast majority of the reports in these books are going to be what? Marasil, munqati'at, disconnected. Clear? He said, then he gave examples. He said, مثل ما يذكره عروة بن الزبير. يعني if you find عروة بن الزبير, this is a follower, tabi'i. you will find him speaking about events took place not only during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but they took place even before the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. They happened in Mecca. They happen in Al-Medina. So, can we just say that, will Urwa ibn Zubayr, you are wrong? Then no historian will stand out. Any historian will be dropped out. Because you will say to him, any historian now, okay? Can you say to him that, can you confirm what you're saying? Did you witness it yourself? You will say, well, based on documents, based on, hearsays. Yeah, there are multiple sources that they will determine the extent from which we can derive the news or the reports. واضح؟ ولهذا يسيد مثل ما يذكره عروة بن الزبير. عروة رحمه الله, he was giant in terms of السيرة, in terms of al-Maghazi. Actually, the sons and al-Mawali, the sons of Zubayr ibn Awwam and their surroundings, al-Mawali, their servants, are on top of knowing السيرة. Musa bin Uqba, he took it from Urwa bin Zubayr. Musa bin Uqba, the one that we have his Maghazi just published. He was the servant of Urwa bin Zubayr. He was min mawalihim. فإذن Urwa bin Zubayr, although he didn't witness what he's talking about, but the nature of the news that he's reporting didn't need that he witness, nor we need what? Chains. The news was spreading all around the Medina, and he was witnessing it. Like مثلا, you can find people here they can give you the history of Alexandria without providing even one document. You don't need a museum for the history of Alexandria. You can take it from them and you can depend on them. How do they take it? That they inherited it. They are from a family who are familiar with the history of Alexandria. Let's suppose that they are descendants from the Philist colonizers that they came here. So they know about it. They heard about it. It is talked about. So, and then they have, if they are talented, and then they have the ability to sort out these reports, and then they will construct their own history. They will give you the history of it. Clear? Those we call them al-akhbariyun. Al-akhbari is the one who, the one gives news. Not muhaddith, not rawi, not reporter, not narrator, not transmitter. Teller. They are tellers. There is a difference between a person who is a teller and a person who is a transporter or reporter, narrator, transmitter. There is a difference. He said, والشعبي رحمه الله, هذا الشعبي, he used to talk about al-Maghazi, especially al-Maghazi. الشعبي هذا عامر بن شراحيل الشعبي. He used to talk about a battle. Abdullah ibn Umar would hear about the way he speaks about it. He said that I swear by Allah, I was there and he know better than me. هذا الشعبي. He said, I was there, I was participating in the battle. He knows more than I know. Okay? Why is that? Why does he know more than he knows? Because of what he heard. Because of what he heard from different Sahaba, from different people who report from Sahaba. There is a common sayings understood, and nobody is rejecting it. It's just keep going. All these factors will make it known for a person about that battle, about that malhama, saga, and so on and so forth. He said الزهري هذا الزهري is giant in terms of المغازي السيرة. Muhammad ibn Muslim. ولهذا you will find that Muhammad ibn Ishaq, he reports a lot of his seerah from الزهري. He takes from الزهري. Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Ubaidullah ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. He's so familiar with al-Maghazi, so familiar. In actuality, he spread it in Sham. When he went to Sham, he added too much to them because they were still fighting the Romans. Because al-Jihad taqriban stopped on the eastern part because the Persians were defeated. But the Romans kept fighting. So al-Jihad and the rulings of al-Jihad and the stories about al-Jihad and al-Maghazi, it kept, circulating there. Okay? أعلم الناس بالمغازي, the people of Al-Madinah, then the people of Al-Sham. Okay? Then he said Musa ibn Uqba. هذا Musa ibn Uqba. He had the oldest seerah that we have. The oldest seerah that we have is the seerah of Musa ibn Uqba, Maghazi Musa ibn Uqba. Very famous Maghazi ibn Uqba. كان مالك رحمه الله, he says to anybody, any alim, any scholar, any students of knowledge who comes to Al-Madinah, he would recommend these Maghazi. He said, don't leave until you have them. Maghazi Musa ibn Uqba. Some ulama argue, they say that because Malik does not like Muhammad ibn Ishaq, so he wants to take away from Muhammad ibn Ishaq. But this is definitely not the case. Musa ibn Uqba rahimahullah was a very trusted source. He was very sourceful. He was himself very sourceful, rahimahullah. Also Ibn Ishaq, Muhammad ibn Ishaq Abu Bakr. He was a giant in terms of knowing as-seerah, rahimahullah. Then he said, وَمَنْ بَعْدَهُ, those who came after them, الطبقة that comes after them, the likes of Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Umawi. Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Umawi, he was in Al-Kufa. He was in Al-Kufa. And he was in Al-Kufa because his name is Yahya ibn Sa'id ibn al-As al-Umawi. He was very good in al-Maghazi, very good in grammar, very good, giant. The grammar, Arabiya, Lugha al-Arabiya, al-Ansab, al-Maghazi. You can ask him about, you say that person is from, he would ask you from, what's your name? If you give him your fourth, fifth grandfather, he can lick you all the way down up to Adnan, if you are Arab. They were so familiar with al-Maghazi, with al-Ansab, genealogies. Okay? Also, Walid ibn Muslim. هذا Walid ibn Muslim al-Qurashi. He was in Al-Sham. In the Levant. هذا Walid ibn Muslim رحمه الله. He was مدلس في الرواية, لكن في السيرة he was what? Giant. He's a giant, Walid ibn Muslim. Also, Al-Waqidi, Muhammad ibn Umar. هذا يا إخوة في الحديث, some ulama consider him to be كذاب, a liar. But في السيرة, authoritative, not only acceptable, authoritative. الآن يا إخوة, you will find Muhammad ibn Sa'd. He has a book called Al-Tabaqat. He said, if he says قال شيخنا أبو عمر, who is Abu Umar? هذا محمد بن عمر الواقدي. He reports from him في المغازي في السيرة because he is authoritative. هذا الواقدي يا إخوة, he went by himself to the locations. He himself went to the locations. ولهذا you find al-Bukhari in the books of al-Maghazi. He will determine the history, the year of the battle, the year of a person who accepts Islam or rejects Islam, the exact location. He will determine it by who? By Al-Waqidi. Sometimes he will opine otherwise. You will find Ibn Hajar in Al-Fath. He would go with Muhammad ibn Umar al-Waqidi. And on many occasions, Muhammad ibn Umar al-Waqidi rahimahullah is right. He's more correct than the choice of Al-Bukhari. Because he himself traveled to these places. He himself went to these places. And he is not reporting us halal and haram. What he is reporting to us? News, history. He's given us history. Right? Yes, it is. It is acceptable. Everybody accepted. Ahmad, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Zur'a, Abu Hatim, Yahya ibn Ma'in, before them, Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan, then after them, Ali ibn al-Madini, all those giants. Shu'bah ibn al-Hajjaj, they would utilize different method. ولهذا يا إخوة, if you would like to engage in accepting hadith, rejecting hadith, making tahqiq, you study hadith the way that they studied it. All what they did, look, all what the contemporaries did, all, and I mean what I'm saying, the contemporaries, because we have the formers, the laters, and the contemporaries. All the contemporaries, compared to what they did, compared to their methodology, it's hard work but without sophistication. ما في sophistication. Because of what? Different attitude towards the type of report. يعني those you'll find the contemporaries, what do? They study مثلا نخبة الفكر, ألفية العراقي مثلا, التقريب, and so on and so forth. They study the books of المصطلح, then they go to make تصحيح and تضعيف. Yeah, they have different methodology, different understanding. They used not to call it مصطلح الحديث, they used to call it علل الحديث, علم الرجال والعلل, the science of men or the reporters and علل. فإذا المهم من هذا, the thing is that يعني the point being here is that there is يعني you need to differentiate. The author now, inshallah, he will give you an example of how to confirm a report, even if the reporters are all liars. Okay? Because it depends on the type of the reports. And then he said رحمه الله فإن أعلم الناس بالمغازي أهل المدينة ثم أهل الشام ثم أهل العراق. فأهل المدينة أعلم بها لأنها كانت عندهم، وأهل الشام كانوا أهل غزو وجهاد فكان لهم من العلم بالجهاد والسير ما ليس لغيرهم. ولهذا عظم الناس كتاب أبي إسحاق الفزاري الذي صنفه في ذلك، وجعلوا الأوزاعي أعلم بهذا الباب من غيره من علماء الأمصار. Indeed, the most knowledgeable people concerning military expeditions are the people of Medina, then Sham, then Iraq. The people of Medina are the most knowledgeable in this, as the expeditions took place amongst them. The people of Sham are known for their military and tactical skills, and due to this, they possess an understanding of these matters. كانوا أهل غزو وجهاد. لا, it's not accurate translation. He translated, the people of Sham are known for their military and tactical skills. لا, this not what he intended. He said the jihad kept going in their place, in their area. So he's not saying that the people of Sham, that they have more sophistication, more tactical skills than the people of Iraq or the people of Hijaz. لا. He said because they kept fighting. They needed to fight. يعني up till early in the Abbasid Caliphate, they continued fighting, while the Persians, the empire was subdued, finished. So they didn't need a lot of information. It was needed at early generations, but later on, it was not practiced as it was practiced in the Levant, in the Sham. He said, for this reason, people revere Abu Ishaq's book on this topic and consider Al-Awza'i to be more knowledgeable in this field than other scholars. Okay, so then we're talking about military expeditions. Definitely the people of Medina are the most knowledgeable people about it. The reason is it took place in their city. يعني everybody knows about it. It does not mean that every military expedition that took place in Medina, but the people of Medina are the people who did it. It stemmed from there, it began from there, it returned to there. The Prophet ﷺ was there, 3 caliphs were there, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, so they know about it. It spread all around. Okay? If you meet any Sahabi, he will tell you a story that happened. Just you encounter anybody in the street, he will tell you that I went with the Prophet ﷺ in this expedition. The Prophet ﷺ went to this expedition and he assigned me to go to this way. Or I was staying, I was sick, وهكذا. So it was circulating all around. واضح? Also, the people of Sham, because it kept going, the people of Sham needed to know about al-Maghazi because they kept fighting. They needed it as a motivation, and they needed it also for some rulings. He says رحمه الله ولهذا عظم الناس كتاب أبي إسحاق الفزاري الذي صنفه في ذلك. Abu Ishaq al-Fazari, he wrote a book about al-Maghazi as well as the rulings of al-Maghazi, both. which is called a seer. It's called a seer. So he wrote a book. Actually, we don't have it now, but people take from it. We have it by chance, but we don't have the book, the actual book. But all that which is in it, it's reported in multiple books. So people, they appreciate that book, they revere it, they take it with high respect. Why? Because he was there. Abu Ishaq al-Fazari, he was there, rahimahullah. Also, Al-Awza'i, Abdurrahman ibn Amr, Abu Amr al-Awza'i, rahimahullah, he died 159, rahimahullah. هذا أبو عمرو الأوزاعي, he used to be there في الثغر. He used to be in Beirut, in Saida. You know Saida? It's a city in Lebanon. So he was on الثغر. He knows what's going on. ولهذا, what happened? You know, Abu Hanifa wrote a book about a seer. Then it was reported by Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani. Then Al-Awza'i rahimahullah, then Abu Yusuf Yaqub, he wrote a book to elaborate on it. Al-Awza'i rahimahullah, what did he do? He refuted it. He said that every ruling that they mentioned, he mentioned that I have reports from the Sahaba saying otherwise. And he was practicing it. They were doing it. Not just to theorize about it, it's taken a place. And then Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah wrote a book to support what Al-Awza'i says against what Abu Yusuf says. And every time Al-Awza'i says something, you will find that he has the correct opinion. Why is that? Because he was witnessing it, rahimahullah. And it's published. You know Kitab the Shafi'i. The last volume has this book. Meaning the collection of the works of Shafi'i. That's why it's called Al yani the book that every book will return to. Okay? He dictated it when he was in Egypt. And it's reported by Rabi' ibn Sulaiman. That's why it's called Because Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, when he was in Baghdad, he was different from Egypt, when he went to Egypt. So it's called yani the books that he wrote in Egypt are going to be the collection of these books and the last opinions of Al-Shafi'i. He wrote a book when he was in Baghdad called Al-Hujjah. ولهذا عندنا الشافعي قولان. The old saying or the old opinion and the new opinion. The new opinion is in Egypt. Why he changed when he went to Egypt? Because a lot of debates. Who are there? في الليث بن سعد وأصحاب مالك. Both. While in Iraq, he had who? Ashab Abi Hanifa. Only Ashab Abi Hanifa. Ashab Abi Hanifa, they don't have that much reports. While when he went to Sham, when he went to Egypt, they have a lot of reports. So he needed to discuss. So he retreated from many opinions. But yani part of the reason that he changed rahimahullah so noticeably is when he met Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Because he used to believe that if you would like to have hadith, you don't go beyond the Hijaz. Iraqis, Shamis, Egyptians, he does not care. Because this is how the people of Al-Hijaz look at any other report. They have a very negative attitude towards these places, especially the people of Al-Iraq. Yani Malik rahimahullah used to call Al-Iraq the land of coining. Meaning, as they produce coins, okay, they produce hadith. يسميها دار الضرب. So they used to be as strict as يعني hardly, يعني they used to be so hard. But when a Shafi'i met Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yahya ibn Ma'in and the likes, he finds something else, that they know about the hadith of their land better than they know. So he said that the hadith, I would take a hadith from you, whether it is Iraqi, Shami or Egyptian. But he didn't say Hijazi, because he believes that he knows them. While they know even the hadith that is Hijazi. Well, the Shafi'i once, he was debating the people in Iraq, the people of Al-Ra'i. Then he said that, I wish, when he finished, he came to Ahmad. He said, I wish you were with me to give me a hadith. Then he said, okay, what did you argue with them? Then he mentioned 3 masail. Then Ahmad rahimahullah gave him 3 hadith. Use al-hadith. ولهذا الشافعي رحمه الله met إسحاق بن راهويه. Nobody, I think, would argue that الشافعي is smarter than إسحاق بن راهويه. They're both smart giants, لكن الشافعي رحمه الله, he is genius compared to إسحاق بن راهويه. But when they debated, every time الشافعي would argue, he would use what? Reason, because he does not have hadith. إسحاق بن راهويه رحمه الله, he would present hadith. Every issue that he mentions, حدثني فلان عن فلان عن فلان. Then الشافعي رحمه الله said, من تعلم الحديث قويت حجته. If you learn hadith, you will have a strong argument. Why? Because if I say to you, for example, I give you an issue in finance or في البيوع, and then you say that الأظهر, it's better to be allowed, it's better to be disliked, and so on and so forth. Compare that judgment, this ruling or this conclusion to a person says, I heard it from Fulan, particularly from Fulan, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or from Sahabi, the likes of Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Zayd ibn Thabit, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Umar. Or I took it from Ata ibn Abi Rabah, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Alqamah al-Aswad, Abdurrahman ibn Yazid. It's a huge difference. وهذا الشافعي رحمه الله, every time he argues with Ishaq ibn Rahowi, he would present him hadith. So he adhered to the people of al-hadith رحمه الله. المهم الأوزاعي, he was supported by Shafi'i completely. Why is that? Not blind following, لا, not at all. Shafi'i is way bigger than this. لكنه رحمه الله, because they presented a hadith. He said, وأما التفسير فإن أعلم الناس به أهل مكة لأنهم أصحاب ابن عباس كمجاهد وعطاء بن أبي رباح وإكرمة مولى ابن عباس وغيرهم من أصحاب ابن عباس كطاووس وأبي الشعثة وسعيد بن جبير وأمثالهم. وكذلك أهل الكوفة من أصحاب عبد الله بن مسعود، ومن ذلك ما تميزوا به على غيرهم. وعلماء أهل المدينة في التفسير مثل زيد بن أسلم الذي أخذ عنه مالك من التفسير وأخذ عنه أيضا ابنه عبد الرحمن وعنه عبد الله بن وهب. As for tafsir, then the most knowledgeable of people in this field are the people of Mecca, doubtlessly. The people of Mecca are the source, the authoritative source of what? Of tafsir. Why? Because they are the companions of who? Of Ibn Abbas, al-Bahr. هذا Ibn Abbas, إخوة, sometimes he would pray al-Fajr, stay up to Salat al-Isha, keep talking. Not only 1 day, 2 days, for 2 weeks. You pray Salat al-Fajr, then we'll keep talking about what you want shi'r, you will give. He was once debated by shi'r from Salat al-Fajr up to Salat al-Asr. Any bait that you will give him, he will give you back. Subhanallah. How is it not to be if the one who supplicated to Allah to make him such who? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allahumma faqihhu fid-din wa 'allimhu at-ta'wil. Ibn Mas'ud, he said that do you know why we have more than Ibn Abbas? That's only because we are older. That's the reason. If he was born the same age as us, he was way ahead of us. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. And he said it, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, when did he die? 34. Abdullah ibn Abbas lived up to 68. So he was saying that during that time. So then what do you think how much he increased? Rahimahullah. If you find a studious student, okay, devoted, if you meet him in a month, he will change. If you meet him at the beginning of the month, and at the end of the month, he will be improved. Then what do you think about 20-25 years of a student like Ibn Abbas? Ibn Mas'ud is saying this about him. So then his companions, they are the most knowledgeable about tafsir. He said, Mujahid, and we talked about this, and Mujahid ibn Jabr, rahimahullah. Also Ata ibn Abi Rabah. Also Ikrimah Mawla ibn Abbas, and we talked about this, about some of his tarjumah. He said, وغيره من أصحاب ابن عباس كطاووس ibn Kaysam. He was Yemeni. from Yemen. أبي الشعثاء هذا جابر بن زيد. هذا جابر بن زيد was in البصرة. جابر بن زيد ibn al-Aswad. Ibn Abbas, sometimes the people of Iraq, when they come to Mecca, they ask him, say, why do you ask me? You have Jabir ibn Zayd. Why do you ask me? Ibn Abbas used to refer to Jabir ibn Zayd, Abu Sha'tha. This is the one that al-Ibadiyya say that he is our leader. He is our faqih. That our madhab, we take it from Abu Sha'tha. And he is minhum bara, rahimahullah. During his time, it was said to him that they yantahilunak, yani they ascribe themselves to you. He said, Wallahi inni minhum bara, I completely exonerate myself from them. Okay? Like up till this day, al-Ibadiyya, yani the people in Oman, in northeastern part of Algeria, al-Ibadiyya, it's a group, it's a sect of al-Khawarij. They attribute themselves, they say that we take our fiqh from Abu Sha'tha, and we take our hadith from Rabi' ibn Habib. They have a book, it's like the book of Riyadh al-Salihin. They call it the book of al-Sunnah for them, Rabi' ibn Habib. So Musnad Rabi' ibn Habib, and it's not proven, by the way. He said, was Sa'id ibn Jubair. Sa'id ibn Jubair, هذا Sa'id ibn Jubair, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i said that when Sa'id ibn Jubair died, nobody on earth is better than him. When he died, rahimahullah. He was killed by who? Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. When he killed, look, هذا Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, he kills people like a chicken. Okay? He only regretted killing one person. Who is that person? Sa'id. And he killed him, he only stayed about 3 to 5 days, then he died. ولهذا قال كان يقول مالي ولابن جبير يعني look, he killed people, يعني thousands of people. And I usually say that imagine that this guy Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, he had the same mass killing or mass machines that we have now. Imagine what he's going to do. 10,000 people he killed in Fidel al-Jamal, only Fidel al-Jamal, 10,000 people. فهو خبيث الحجاج هذا. Actually some of the Salaf consider him to be disbeliever. يعني عمر al-Aziz consider him to be disbeliever. Mujahid consider him to be disbeliever. الزهري used to consider him to be a disbeliever. كفروه. نعوذ بالله. He said وعلماء أهل المدينة. Then he talked about the people of Al-Kufa. Al-Kufa, you know, Al-Kufa was constructed by Muslims. The city was constructed by Muslims, while Al-Basra was there before Muslims. هذه Al-Kufa, it was established during the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. It has the companions of who? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu wa ardah. Like whom are the companions of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? Like Alqamah ibn Qais al-Nakha'i. Like Masruq ibn al-Ajda'. The likes also of Abdurrahman ibn Yazid. Abdurrahman ibn Yazid al-Nakha'i. So they take from him Tafseer, rahimahullah. He said, وَمِنْ ذَلِكَ مَا تَمَيَّزُوا بِهِ عَلَى غَيْرِهِمْ. Likewise, it includes the people of Kufa who are the students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Some of these are distinguished scholars. It's a very bad translation. He's changing the meaning. And he said that they have يعني, things that you don't find them amongst others. That's what he's saying. That you will find amongst them things that you won't find, meaning in the people of Mecca and the people of Al-Madinah. And then he talked about ulama al-Madinah. He said that from the scholars of Medina who specialized in tafsir is Zayd ibn Aslam. You know Zayd ibn Aslam, هذا Umar radiallahu anhu has mawla, a servant called Aslam. His son Zayd, he was very well knowledgeable. In terms of tafsir, he was so knowledgeable. Malik, he took a tafsir from Zayd ibn Aslam, the son of the mawla, the servant of Umar. Also, Ibnuhu Abdul Rahman. Zayd ibn Aslam, he has 3 sons. He has Abdul Rahman, wa Abdullah ibn Zayd ibn Aslam, wa Muhammad ibn Zayd ibn Aslam. All of them are weak. Especially Abdul Rahman in terms of what? Hadith. Hatta inna Shu'bah rahimahullah, he heard from him. He said that if I ask him to report about Safinat Nuh, he will give me. About the Archbishop, about Nuh. What does that mean? What does he mean? that he will continue. يعني مثلا hadith, you will take it from the follower, he will go up to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. He has a habit of going up. Like مثلا تعرفون حديث أحلت لنا ميتتان ودمان. Right? هذا الحديث من كلام عبد الله بن عمر. عبد الرحمن بن زيد بن أسلم, he reports from Zayd ibn Aslam, his father, and Abdullah ibn Umar, that Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said. Well, it's a statement from Abdullah ibn Umar رضي الله عنهما. The thing is that هذا عبد الرحمن بن زيد بن أسلم في الحديث unanimously weak, but في التفسير authority, not just acceptable, authority. Why? Because he specialized in a tafsir taken from his father. He took it from his father, and his father is very knowledgeable of a tafsir. He specialized in a tafsir. He said, وعنه عبد الله بن وهب. يعني even Abdullah ibn Wahb took a tafsir from Abd al-Rahman ibn Zayd ibn Aslam. So at tafsir, the people of Egypt, when they want to report a tafsir from the people of Al-Madinah, usually they will go through the chain of Abdullah ibn Wahb. Take it from Abd al-Rahman ibn Zayd ibn Aslam. He would interpret it himself, or he will take it from his father, or his father take it from Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. Or sometimes he will report it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is going to be mursal. But the thing is that we know as we are comfortable that these narrations are going to be acceptable because we're taking them from who? Specialists. Those who devoted themselves to this particular topic. Then he said, rahimahullah, because he said, what did he say again? That the vast majority of the reports in the books of At-Tafsir, military expeditions, biographies, history, they are what? Marasil, disconnected. But with that does not negate the fact that we can confirm them. We can confirm them. Because the nature of these reports are not the same as the reports of hadith. They are different. Like what we just talked about, knowing about the history of Alexandria, or knowing that person graduated from this university. Are they the same? Now, if we'd like to know about the conformity of this news, of this telling, that a person graduated from this university at this year, or a person who will tell you about an event took place in Alexandria, are they going to be the same as if you attribute a statement to a person? Like you, what's your name? Jazakallah khair. مثلا Jamshid. If we're gonna attribute a statement to Jamshid, whereby this statement is going to cause a person to be killed or not, is it going to be the same? Is the nature of the telling is going to be the same? No, it's not the same. So the ulama rahimahullah used to measure this, and they used the rationale in the language maybe you are used to, the philosophy behind it, the theory behind it, the rationale, from where do they come from. So the author rahimahullah now is giving you the justification why we would accept al-marasil, what we call mursal, disconnected chains. Okay? Why we would accept them. What's the justification behind it? He says, rahimahullah, wal-marasil. I will read this in Arabic, then we'll go over it in English, inshallah. But please, stay focused. He said, والمراسيل ذا تعددت طرقها وخلت عن المواطأة قصدا أو اتفاقا بغير قصد كانت صحيحة قطعا. فإن النقل إما أن يكون صدقا مطابقا للخبر، وإما أن يكون كذبا تعمد صاحبه الكذب أو أخطأ فيه. فمتى سلم من الكذب العمد والخطأ كان صدقا بلا ريب. فإذا كان الحديث جاء من جهتين أو جهات، وقد علم أن المخبرين لم يتواطؤوا على اختلاقه، وعلم أن مثل ذلك لا تقع الموافقة فيه اتفاقا بلا قصد، علم أنه صحيح. مثل شخص يحدث عن واقعة جرت ويذكر تفاصيل ما فيها من الأقوال والأفعال، ويأتي شخص آخر قد علم أنه لم يواطئ الأول فيذكر مثل ما ذكره الأول من تفاصيل الأقوال والأفعال، فيعلم قطعا أن تلك الواقعة حق في الجملة. فإنه لو كان كل منهما كذب بها عمدا أو أخطأ لم يتفق في العادة أن يأتي كل منهما بتلك التفاصيل التي تمنع العادة اتفاق الاثنين عليها بلا مواطأة من أحدهما لصاحبه. فإن الرجل قد يتفق أن ينظم بيتا وينظم الآخر مثله، أو يكذب كذبة ويكذب الآخر مثلها، أما إذا أنشأ قصيدة طويلة ذات فنون على قافية وروي فلم تجر العادة بأن غيره ينشئ مثلها لفظا ومعنى مع الطول المفرط، بل يعلم بالعادة أنه أخذها منه. وكذلك إذا حدث حديثا طويلا فيه فنون وحدث آخر بمثله فإنه إما أن يكون وطأه عليه أو أخذه منه، أو يكون الحديث صدقا. وبهذه الطريق يعلم صدق عامة ما تتعدد جهاته المختلفة على هذا الوجه من المنقولات، وإن لم يكن أحدهما كافيا إما لإرساله وإما لضعف ناقله. لكن مثل هذا لا تضبط به الألفاظ والدقائق التي لا تعلم بهذه الطريق، بل يحتاج ذلك إلى طريق يثبت بها مثل تلك الألفاظ والدقائق. طيب. Are you with us? طيب. He says رحمه الله مرسل حديث. Again, what is mursal hadith? Disconnected. It's not only the hadith where a tabi'i says the Prophet ﷺ says. This is only one of it. So it will include mu'dal, okay, mu'allaq, munqati', and the term, يعني mursal in the terminology of the laters. He says mursal hadith, which is reported by many narrations, to the extent that there can be no change of intentional or incidental collusion between the narrations, are without doubt authentic. يعني look, we have, when people report, now what's the measurement that this report is true or false? It is true if it matches reality. لا يعني if you say that مثلا, if you say that you are from Sierra Leone or from Liberia, then it's either one, the statement that matches reality is the true statement. Okay, so then what is the true statement? That which matches reality. So reality is the measurement. ولهذا نحن نقول الخبر هو ما طابق الواقع. We talked about this في أصول التفسير, right? في أصول الفقه, that there are some statements that cannot be but true, and there are statements that they cannot be but false, and there are statements who are false with the possibility of being true. There are statements that they are true with the possibility of being false. Okay, we talked about this. طيب, now for a person not telling the truth, meaning that his statement does not match reality, either because he is lying, يعني he intentionally saying things which they don't match reality. He knows that what he's saying does not match reality. What do we call this? Lie. He's lying. طيب, or he will do it but mistakenly, accidentally. Okay? Now, sometimes he will that he knows that it does not match reality. So they will do it with collusion. يعني everybody would agree to say something false. Okay, like مثلا the media, they agree to lie against Gaza. They agree. They intended to do it, at least the mainstream. Okay, so if someone says to you, well, everybody is saying that, you say, yeah, it is possible that everybody would say it if they agree, if they collude to say it. Or that they would do it in what way? Coincidentally. يعني إما مواطأة يعني collusion, or اتفاقا يعني coincidentally. It happened. You say it happened. Like if I walk in the street, and then it was the same. Then the signal was red at the same time that when I called you, you stopped at a signal that was red. It's coincidental. It happened, occurred. Okay? So it could match that they will collude to blur reality, or it will happen coincidentally. Yani that person intended to blur reality. Another person intended also to blur reality, and they come together coincidentally. They didn't collude. They didn't cooperate. Is there any other possibility? These are the possibilities. Okay? So what the author rahimahullah say? If a statement is that you remove the possibility that that person intended to say falsehood, and you know that, and you are also safe from him that he won't commit a mistake in telling the falsehood, and you know that there is no possibility of colluding, no, there is a possibility of coincidentally saying the statement, then what do you know about that statement? True, doubtlessly. So then you have four possibilities: intentionally not telling that which would match reality, or unintentionally, which we call mistake. Okay? Everybody other than the United States is wrong, monster. But if the United States does it, it's a mistake. Collateral damage. We are good, we wanted to do it. But unfortunately, oops. It's in the subconscious, subhanAllah. And sometimes when I speak, sometimes wallahi ikhwa, they are so brainwashed. The moment that they speak it, I'm not talking about the general public, ikhwa. And they so programmed. Yeah, sometimes you feel he is honest. He's honest. He speaks it, he's honest. You don't feel that he's lying. But you say, well, it's a collateral damage. Because he is programmed that always our intention is good. Always our intention is good. He finds it very difficult to imagine that what we're doing is with ill intention. So then, if he is not doing it intentionally, if you know that he does not do it intentionally, nor unintentionally, nor colludingly, nor coincidentally, then you conclude that that statement must match reality. هل فهمت كلام المصنف؟ طيب. Then he went on to say, a narration can be authentic and correct, or false, in which the narrator intentionally lied or made a mistake. If we can establish that it is free of lies and mistakes, then it's undoubtedly authentic. Why is that? Now, this is this is the reason how he will go to argue this. He not only made a claim, he put a reason behind it. Now he will go to argue. You know this, right? This is basic. Now he presented you the thesis. The claim supported with the reason. Then he will give you the argument. He will argue his position. He says, therefore, this is not the conclusion, this is the argument. And this is based on the premise that he gave you, that is supported by reason. He said, therefore, if a hadith has been narrated from two or more chains, and it is known that the narrators did not conspire يعني تواطؤوا. Okay, they conspiratorily come together in order to disagree on it. مثلا الآن, if someone says that, how come all scientists, or 98% of scientists, they say that they believe in evolution. If we accept, which is not the case, if we accept for the sake of argument, see, but yeah, we're not saying that they haven't conspired to do it, but they have what? Colluded to do it. What do we mean that they have colluded to do it? It was made to be so. In what way? Any other person of a high respect would like to say something else, he would be excluded. So then you are only left with the scientists who would agree with it. But whole bunch of scientists are excluded, sidelined, silenced. So then so yes, it is possible to have 98% of scientists to say that evolution is true, which is not the case, by the way. But even if we accept that, we say yes, it is possible, because there is a process that made it so. So what he says, هذا مهم يا إخوان، لأن السلف هذول أئمة النقل, this is how they used to reason about the reports. Reports يا إخوان it's philosophy يعني, has a rationale. If someone tells you about something, it has whole science behind it. Okay, يعني linguistics, content, the subject, the content, and the whole subject. يعني the very information that he is delivering, and also the subject which includes this information, or this information is about. And also the way that is transmitted, the time of it, the place of it, the circumstances, all these are taken into consideration. So then again he says that therefore if a hadith has been narrated from 2 or more chains, that it is known that the narrators did not conspire in its differences, and that it is not possible to agree on such thing incidentally, or يعني better coincidentally, اتفاقا, the narration is classed as authentic. The narration in of itself, any type of narration. ولهذا الآن, one of the major things that you need to make sure when you have witnesses in a court of law is that what do? You separate them. You separate them. One of the reasons that you separate them in order to make sure that they don't conspire, collude, conspire. Okay? In order to make sure, now if they give us a report, account, if they give an account, they agree on the general things, but they will differ with the details. So we're going to conclude that there is what? We can confirm the events as what? That it happened. But can we establish rulings on it? But someone would be imprisoned because of it. La. So there is a difference between a seerah. We know that these events happened, but the details within those rules. عرفت? He said that it is like, now he's giving you an example. It is like a person who mentions an incident which took place. It took place, explaining in detail what was said and done, and then another person who cannot have conspired with the first mentions the exact same story in detail. It is known that on the whole the story is true, must be true. If they had conspired to lie about the story or had mistakenly done so, طيب يا إخوان, is there a possibility that jinn, shaitan, whispered to both of them? He conspired to mislead them, to mislead them. So a shaitan caused them to be misled. Is that possible? هذا نفس السؤال سئله أحمد، نفس السؤال هذا. كيف؟ Do you know how he answered? He said قال الله تعالى هل أدلكم على من تنزل الشياطين تنزلوا على كل أفاك أثيم. We know that they are liars. We already know. على كل أفاك أثيم يلقون السمع وأكثرهم كاذبون. He said that the majority of them are going to be liars. So what does that mean? If it is a lie, there must be an evidence for it to be a lie, either in the content, the time, the place. ولهذا sometimes some of the ulama, they will find reports that everybody would say that they are authentic, but they will say في نفسي منها شيء. I have some concerns, but they cannot explain it. In many occasions. ولهذا in many occasions some people would think that the people of ulama al-hadith, they are acting like soothsayers. Why? Because they find it difficult to express the reason, but there is a problem. لأن الله يقول والشعراء يقول هل أدلكم على من تنزل الشياطين تنزلوا على كل أفاك أثيم يلقون السمع وأكثرهم, the vast majority of them are who? كاذبون, they are liars. واضح؟ طيب ولهذا the very question هذا مثلا Descartes he asked himself in the ها؟ إيه نعم في الإنجليزية meditations اللي هو في التأملات. Okay, what did he say that يعني how do I make sure that I'm not deceived by the devil? You know his meditations? Okay, forget it. So he said, it is known that on the whole, the story is true. If they had conspired to lie about the story or had mistakenly done so, it would not be conceivable that they would agree on all the details as without collusion. Without collusion, such a thing would be impossible. Okay, it's just impossible. And we just established to you the four يعني premises. Okay, so do you agree with this example? Yes, definitely. It's used in the court of law. So they establish rulings sometimes based on it. He said, if it is possible that a person may compose a verse of poetry and another happens to also compose the same verse, or one tells a particular lie which happens to be the same lie another tells without having colluded with the first. It could happen. Okay, it could happen that a person says, well, there is explosion in DC. And you find another person say, there is explosion in DC. It is possible. It could be possible. It's rare, very unlikely, very rare to happen, but it's possible. It has possibility, but we're looking for the impossibility. What is the impossibility that we know through regularities? If, like what the Shaykh rahimahullah says, however, if a person was to compose a lengthy poem, let's say is that within 70 lines. If a person was to compose a lengthy poem containing all types of rhythmical styles and techniques, it is not possible that someone else would compose the exact same poem with the same words and meanings. Rather, it is known that the later took it from the former. If we know that person, let's say it before, right? Why? How do we know that? Through observed regularities, through observed habits. It's just impossible. If it happens, it means that one person took it from the other, or the other person is receiving wahi. Since we know that there is no wahi anymore, then he must have taken it from the other person. He said, rahimahullah, likewise, if someone mentions a long narration containing much detail and another person narrates the same thing, then the latter either colluded with the former or he copied him, or else the narration is true. Must be true. Right? The same thing. ولهذا he said rahimahullah, using this method, it is possible to determine the authenticity of narrations which are reported through different transmissions, even though each individual narration is not sufficient on its own due to a missing link present or the weakness of a narrator. Clear ya ikhwan? So then it is possible to have disconnected chains, disconnected reports, disconnected narrations, transmissions, and the report is what? Not only acceptable, it must be acceptable. Must be acceptable. He said, however, this method cannot be used in pinpointing the accuracy of words and details. The accuracy of such things must be established via another method, which is manhaj who? منهج أهل الحديث، المنهج في الحديث. المنهج في الحديث. The method in الحديث. So then what do we conclude here, يا إخوة? This is very important, especially for those who approach history, maghazi, malahim, as they approach hadith. Then they have a very deficient result. That we say that we utilize the principles of the method of al-hadith in rejectability or acceptability. Right? La. We only utilize the method. But the rulings of rejectability and acceptability is not the same. So we don't utilize them. We only utilize the principles of the method. ولهذا هذه قاعدة عند المحدثين. نستعمل المناهج المحدثين ولا نستعمل أحكامهم. Let's write it here. This is definitely going to be in the exam. If you leave this course knowing this قاعدة, you seem sophisticated. يعني you seem educated. يعني مثلا if you sit with a person and he says to you مثلا you say to him مثلا سيف بن عمر he يعني محمد بن جرير he reported المؤرخون he reported a lot of him from him سيف بن عمر about مثلا events يعني مثلا if you remove سيف بن عمر you don't have قادسية you don't have Yarmouk you don't have these. So if you sit with a person and you say that what do you think of Saif ibn Umar, you say that we will utilize him for tarikh in the methodology, in the method of Ahl al-Hadith. Then you know immediately that he's what? He knows what he's talking about. Okay? So then what is this major qa'idah? What is the major qa'idah? Usage of method, not rulings. In regards to other than hadith narrations. Is هذا الخبر, this is the khabar of this, is the method or is the way scholars of hadith utilize to confirm the authenticity of reports and narrations. Okay, write it down. So this is how they approach history. Do you remember the books that I recommended for you? Yani Langlois, yes, Osipaus and Esipaus. Those two historians, the first thing that he mentioned about documents, he premised it, he built the premises on three factors. The number one factor is this. Now, when did they discover it? In the 18th century. In the 19th century. In the 19th century. This is how they knew how to handle historical materials. Okay? Although the Romans and the Greeks, especially the Romans, they are very well known to be for their documentation. They like to document things, especially the Romans. The Romans are very good in documenting. The Romans, very good in documenting. Okay? Khalas? Are you comfortable with this, inshallah? Yes?
So, Shaykh, how would you confirm the weakness or the rejectability of a report in this regard for like historical event, or
Like what the author, rahimahullah, says.
it doesn't come from a lot of, it doesn't have a lot of.
You see, now, what's the meaning of the conformity? Because it conforms to reality. It matches reality, right? Why is it not going to match reality? A narration, report. Why is it not going to match reality? Lie, which is intentionally telling other than reality, or mistakes, or collusion, which is conspire, or coincidental. Once you exclude these possibilities, this is the method, how to confirm it. You try to exclude these methods, you cross them out. Then, if they all crossed out, then the narration, the report must match reality, must be true. عرفت كيف؟ هكذا. This is يعني like if you go into a lab, your intellectual tools, you realize in this.
So a liar in the chain doesn't necessarily mean that
The narration is a lie. You can have a shaitan telling you. ولهذا he صلى الله عليه وسلم, what did he say? صدقك وهو كذوب. It is possible that a person صدق, he said the truth while he is a liar. It seems you're not convinced. Huh? Okay, because if you have objection, yani please, this is going to be nourishing the class, and that's what we want. We want you to disagree. If you have something to say, yes.
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying, can we use this method to say that Isa didn't claim? I mean, Isa wasn't crucified, or Isa didn't claim like he was God. Even though there's like mass narrations that say he was like crucified or not.
Still, the idea is not clear in your mind.
I'm saying, like, can we use this method to say that was not true?
What is the thing that is not true? So what's the claim, Anan? What's the claim? Yani the Christians say that he is God.
Yeah.
Okay? But they agree that he said that he didn't say that I am God. Yeah. They agree with this. So what you're gonna prove, Anan?
I'm saying I'm proving that he's not God.
So you're not, you're disproving their claim, not Jesus' claim.
Yes.
But this is not historical.
how about the crucifixion example?
Huh?
How about the crucifixion example?
Okay, the crucifixion, yes. You can, مثلا, that for the crucifixion to take place, then there must be no lie, there must be no mistakes, which is Allah Azza wa says, ولكن شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. They were mistaken. ولكن شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. Or thirdly, that they don't collude on it, and fourthly, that they coincidentally they said what they say. So Allah Azza wa Jal, what He is saying, Allah Azza wa Jal giving us the answer. They are mistaken because they mistaken Isa for someone else. Now, we don't find in the Sunnah, we don't find, definitely it's not in the Quran, not in the Sunnah, that someone else was put in replacement. This is taken from some of the interpreters. But Allah says, وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. And He told us that Allah Azza wa Jal took him up. Okay? That's what we are told. في القرآن الله يقول وما قتلوه وما صلبوه ولكن شبه لهم وقال بل رفعه الله إليه. So these are the two things, fact, by the Quran, that it was made appear to them or apparent to them that they have crucified him. So what does that tell you? That there was a crucifixion, but it was made appear to them that he was Isa. Okay? And secondly, Allah says, بَرْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ, that Allah took him immediately, that he was taken up. For them, that he was crucified when? On Saturday, Sunday, then he ascended. He was on Sunday, okay? Then he was ascended. He stayed for 3 days. Then he was ascended or taken up. Now, so the Quran gives you this, that it was appeared to them. So they are mistaken. ولهذا نحن we say that there is no problem, we don't have any problem if the disciples believe that he was crucified. We don't have any problem with this. If the disciples of Isa, because it was made appear to them, it was made apparent to them, and they told what they saw. They were not lying, but they were what? Mistaken. As Allah says, وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. We don't have problem if the disciples say, although that in their book, they didn't know. There is in Matthew, if you read the story, it's the account of Matthew tells that the disciples didn't know actually. Didn't know about it. The thing is that the thing is that utilizing this method is applicable to this. That we know that they are mistaken. That they are mistaken. And part of the reason that they are mistaken, because you can't find in other than Christian sources the story of the crucifixion. The story of the crucifixion. You can find in the account of Herodotus that there was a crucifixion, but the details of it, the accounts of it, you won't find it in other than Christian sources.
Even one of the denomination cancelled that out. They don't believe in the crucifixion.
There were people who believed that Jesus was not crucified. Yeah. Like the thing is that we know that they were mistaken. And if the Christians now, they say that it is a fact, they say. The crucifixion is a fact. We say that it's a mistaken. It's a mistaken. The argument usually goes as thus. They say that how Muhammad came after 500 years or 600 years saying otherwise. Everybody believed that he was crucified, and Muhammad came and he said he was not crucified. First of all, we say that he is not Muhammad, the one who said it. Then the discussion is to prove that this is coming from the divine, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly, we say that that we disagree with the premise that everybody agreed, that everybody was saying that he was crucified. There were big chunk of people believed that he was not crucified. Thirdly, we say that the argument with us, we don't deny that there was a crucifixion. We deny that Jesus was crucified. So the Quran says they were mistaken. So we don't deny the fact that there was a crucifixion. But was it Jesus? They usually say that, do you think that the Romans, very sophisticated, that they would mistake Jesus? We say that he is a prophet of Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal made it so. So they can't trick Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal, كما قال تعالى ومكروا ومكر الله والله خير الماكرين. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who plotted this. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. So they were playing against Allah Azza wa Jal, not against civilizations like them or criminals under their jurisdiction. That this is important to be known. Al-Muhim, this is how we confirm historical events, historical incidents, actions, details, and so on and so forth. Clear? But history, it shapes the identity, because if you lose memory, if you lose memory, then you won't engage with your present. History is your memory. If a person loses memory, then he's disconnected from his reality. It will be like a leaf in the wind. History is important. It shapes your identity. History, ikhwa, shapes you. فلذلك, if you lose memory, it means that you will lose the present. Imagine now, your memory is gone. Then you are not with us in the present. You don't know why are you even here. It's important to know history. History is a very important subject. ولهذا السخاوي رحمه الله, he wrote a book called التوبيخ, الإعلام والتوبيخ لمن ذم علم التاريخ. The declaration of rebuke to those who belittle the science of history. The history is important, and it's sophisticated science, by the way. It's not easy. A lot of people, they think that if they are about to drop from school, they will go to history. No, history is it's a sophisticated science. Here in the United States, it's not as strong as if you go to Germany, Britain. If you go to Germany, Britain, the departments of history are good. Yeah, and they do good work and hard work. And in order to be a historian, you need to work hard. It's not easy. And look at what we have: people called philanthropists, and we have people called archaeologists. They sometimes intersect with historians. Sometimes everybody works alone. واضح? So these are three different fields, subjects. Philanthropy it means that we trace back fossils. Archaeology talks about the physical remnants in the past. History utilizes both. A historian will utilize both. Okay? Then what about anthropologists? Huh? People, human. What about psychology? Human behavior. Sociology, individuals interacting with each other. طيب. He said, وبهذه الطريقة يعلم صدق عامة ما تتعدى. طيب. Then he said, and he mentioned something that is important. He said that as for the details, we don't take the details from this. We know about the generality of the event. That's why we say that we don't deduce rulings. Okay? We deduce tellings. We know tellings, أخبار, news, but we don't know, but we don't deduce rulings. We don't deduce rulings. Now, if a person, can we read what happened during the battle of Al-Yarmouk? And just by these details, we're going to deduce rulings, halal and haram. Are we going to do this? Even though this battle happened during the preferred era, during the time of Abu Bakr. No, we need this chains now. We need chains to specific rulings in order to know. But Sa'd ibn Waqqas said such and such. Although Sa'd, he was not. So if he said such and such, you need rule, which will affirm rulings related to the battlefield, related to jihad, related to interactions with the enemy. So هكذا, you need chains now. You can't take it from a historical account. You need to differentiate between historical account and rulings. طيب, he said رحمه الله, ولهذا ثبتت غزوة بدر بالتواتر وأنها قبل أحد، بل يعلم قطعا أن حمزة وعليا وأبا عبيدة برزوا إلى عتبة وشيبة والوليد، وأن عليا قتل الوليد، وأن حمزة قتل قرنة، ثم يشك في قرنة هل هو عتبة أم شيبة. يقول وهذا الأصل ينبغي أن يعرف فإنه أصل نافع في الجزم بكثير من المنقولات في الحديث والتفسير والمغازي وما ينقل من أقوال الناس وأفعالهم وغير ذلك. He said thus, the battle of Badr has been established by recurrent narrations, frequent narrations. Anybody can deny that there was a battle called Badr? If a person denies a battle like Badr, then he would deny that the framers here in the United States came together. The story is fabricated. Just can't. This is a historical fact. So this is what they historians call in English the historicity, يسمى التاريخية. Look, there is something called, you need to differentiate between two things: historical events, the historicity of an event, and the historianistic nature of the event. التاريخانية نسميها. We give an entire course about that. Look, now what is a historical event? In a very simple language, an event took place in the past. This is called historical event. Okay, what is the historicity of it? The proof that it took place. Okay, it's proven. ولهذا usually you hear them say that I believe in the historicity of Jesus. I believe in the historicity of that crucifixion. Okay, like مثلا Bat Ehrman, he believes in the historicity of Jesus, but not the divinity of Jesus. That he existed, that there was a person by the name Jesus. He, he walked on earth. Okay, because you will find now the reductionists and the revisionists, they believe what? There was no such Isa, there was no such Musa, there was no such Muhammad, Abraham. This is just fabricated personality. Okay, the revisionist and the reductionist. So then we have a historical event, meaning that it's an event happened in the past. To confirm it, to prove it, it's to prove its historicity. طيب, what is the histrionic nature of it? التاريخانية. It means you say that event is only restricted to its time. Okay? You say that event, you cannot take from, even if you prove it, you confirm the historicity of it, but you cannot deduce rulings from it. You say that it's only for that time. Okay? And this is how the Christians use the Old Testament. They use the histrionic nature of it. They say that yes, this was it was good during that time. Okay, that's why we didn't take these rulings. Why? Because it was good during that time. And the Amalekites, to kill the infants and everybody, they don't have any problem. Why? They say that it's only during that time. It was good during that time, but it's not good in this time. This is based upon philosophy, a whole philosophy about how to approach history. Based on التاريخانية, there is a principle called what? Anachronism, meaning that you don't measure our time, our culture, behavior, interactions, customs on the behavior, culture, and customs that they happen in the past. You need to understand these in their terms, in their historical circumstances, not in our circumstances. It has some degree because al-'ada muhakkama, like not in terms of the history, because it could happen again, the same circumstance back. We can have another circumstances that they repeat themselves, then they're going to be measured by the same. So we don't take it as a measurement of history, but we take it as a measurement of contextualization. السياق الذي يبي. So it's not because it happened in the past, but because of the circumstance. So the factor that is affecting the event is not that it happened in the past, but because of the circumstance. If you have the same circumstances in the present or in the future, then the rulings are going to be the same. ولهذا, if you hear that history repeats itself, طيب, is history written by the victorious? Very debated issue. الآن the majority of historians are of the opinion that it's not written by the victorious. History is not written by the victorious. يعني you can construct history. You can construct history even if the one who is going to write the history is the victorious, and it's going to be for the advantage of the defeated, not for the victorious. At any event, these are topics discussed in this field that is called history. في قناة عندكم هنا في أمريكا, it's called, في channel, TV channel, you call it History Channel. It's absolutely biased. Okay? It's, يعني, if you take your information from it, you're gonna be, disconnected from the world. You don't know what's going on. It's very bad, very bad. Because I got some interest in it. This was in 2012. Or in 2013, I think, in 2013. Bad, very bad. Very bad, so biased. Anyways, he said, وهذا الأصل ينبغي أي, he said, ولهذا ثبتت غزوة بدر, thus the battle of Badr has been established by recurrent narrations. It is established that it took place before the battle of Uhud. Nobody would dispute that. If someone comes to us and say, well, I will rewrite history, I will rewrite a seerah, and then he will come and tell us that Uhud was before Badr, nobody would take him seriously. Nobody. Like what you usually hear say, it's a free country, so what can we do? You're right, you're just losing your effort. At the end of the day, nobody is going to hear you. Unless those matches to some degree your stupidity, they will go along with you. Otherwise, nobody would take you seriously. Nobody would take you seriously. He said, why I'm emphasizing on this? Because now you have this, there is a movement for almost 15 up till, 50, from 20 to 25 years. There is a movement of revisionism to revise history. And they are so reductionist, اختزاليون. And they are destroying a lot of things to the extent that they have reached a point now. History is only acceptable if it is archaeologically proven. عرفت? Do you know what they are saying? Do you appreciate what they are saying? They say that nothing happened in history. Nothing happened in history but to be what? Archaeologically proven. Then the human memory is going to be what? Gone. We don't know anything about our past. When you walk in the streets, you see what? Allah mentions that if you walk, you will see the remainings of those who came in the past. But you won't find it everywhere. Okay? So it's a very bad approach. Very bad approach. ولهذا, he said, rahimahullah, furthermore, it is also established that Hamza, Ali, and Abu Ubaidah had a duel with Utbah. Shaybah and Walid, that Ali killed Walid, and Hamza killed his opponent. However, there is a difference of opinion over who his opinion was. Was it Utbah or Shaybah? So these details, you need something to give you preponderancy. But did this take place? Did Mubarazah take place? Al-Mubarazah, what is Al-Mubarazah? Yes, duel. SubhanAllah, how did I miss it? I just read it. So the duel happened. It happened. No doubt it happened. Because how do we know that? Not only by the narration of Al-Hadith, the Hadith in Al-Bukhari, but we know through it's reported by a lot. It's very well known. You will ask people in Al-Kufa, they will know. You ask people in Medina, they will know. If you ask people in Medina, in Mecca, they will know. In Egypt, they will know. I mean, during that time, not this time. During the time of the Sahaba, if you ask, everybody knows that. He said, this is an essential principle. And focus please on this. Listen to what Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says. This is an essential principle. هذا. Okay? He says, this is an essential principle to remember and is very beneficial in determining the truthfulness of narrations in hadith, tafseer, and military expeditions, and what people said or did in the past, and in history. So bear this in mind. This is how ulama al-hadith, because history in Islam, the science of history, who began it in amongst the Muslims? Ulama al-hadith. Ulama al-hadith are the ones who began the science of history, not anybody else. Ulama al-hadith, the ones who began علم التاريخ. ولهذا عندنا التاريخ, we have مثلا since the beginning, you're talking about تاريخ أحمد, تاريخ يحيى بن معين, تاريخ المعرفة والتاريخ ليعقوب بن سفيان الفسوي, then those who came after. So we have a تاريخ Khalifa ibn Khayyat, those who began a تاريخ. So they know what they do, they know what they're doing. They grasped how to report, the nature of the reports. He says رحمه الله: ولهذا إذا روي الحديث الذي يتأتى فيه ذلك عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من وجهين مع العلم بأن أحدهما لم يأخذه عن الآخر جزم بأنه حق، لا سيما إذا علم أن نقلته ليس من يتعمد الكذب، وإنما يخاف على أحدهم النسيان والغلط. فإن من عرف الصحابة كابن مسعود وأبي بن كعب وابن عمر وجابر وأبي سعيد وأبي هريرة وغيرهم علم يقينا أن الواحد من هؤلاء لم يكن ممن يتعمد الكذب على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، فضلا عمن فوقه. كما يعلم الرجل من حال من جربه وخبره خبرة باطنة طويلة أنه ليس ممن يسرق أموال الناس ويقطع الطريق ويشهد بالزور ونحو ذلك. وكذلك التابعون بالمدينة ومكة والشام والبصرة، فإن من عرف مثل أبي صالح السمان والأعرج وسليمان بن يسار وزيد بن أسلم وأمثالهم علم قطعا أنهم لم يكونوا من يتعمد الكذب في الحديث، فضلا عمن هو فوقهم مثل محمد بن سيرين والقاسم بن محمد أو سعيد بن المسيب أو عبيدة السلماني أو علقمة أو الأسود أو نحوهم. وإنما يخاف على الواحد من الغلط، فإن الغلط والنسيان كثيرا ما يعرض الإنسان، ومن الحفاظ من قد عرف الناس بعده عن ذلك جدا، كما عرفوا حال الشعبي والزهري وعروة وقتادة والثوري وأمثالهم، لا سيما الزهري في زمانه والثوري في زمانه. فإنه قد يقول القائل إن ابن شهاب الزهري لا يعرف له غلط مع كثرة حديثه وسعة حفظه. طيب, what he's saying رحمه الله, he say for this reason, if a prophetic hadith has been narrated with two different chains, and it is known that one narrator did not collaborate with the other, we can be certain that the narration is true. Because it is impossible for the four things. This is even more so if the narrators are those who would not intentionally lie. You add to this fact that we know sometimes for certainty that the narrator, the reporter, the transmitter won't intentionally lie. The only thing that we are afraid is that he is mistaken, and the avoidance of this thing to happen is that they will report without collaborating, and both they say the same. He said that this is even more so if the narrators are those who would not intentionally lie. Rather, the most that is feared for them is that they may make a mistake. They may make a mistake or forget. The one who is familiar with the companions, such as Ibn Mas'ud, Ubay ibn Ka'b, Ibn Umar, Jabir, Abu Sa'id, and Abu Hurairah, would know that they would never intentionally ascribe a lie to the Prophet ﷺ, let alone those who are greater in status than them, like Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, في عبد الرحمن بن عوف, مثل عشرة, Zubair ibn Awam. Okay? If you read about them, just go and read their biography. The more you know about them, you know that they are what? Very difficult, to almost impossible to lie intentionally against the Prophet ﷺ. That they will ascribe a lie to the Prophet ﷺ. They will say a lie against the Prophet ﷺ. They won't do it. They just don't do it. They won't be able to do it. They don't have the, what do you call it? Not the audacity, the even to think about it, to lie against the Prophet ﷺ. It's for them, it's not even in the imagination. If you read about their biographies. You see, this is similar to a person who knows another well. This is similar to a person who knows another will due to his extensive experiences with him. And look, not extensive experiences with him in the apparent matters, but in the internal matters. In his house, travel with him a long time. They have a partnership. They know so much about them. He said he knows he would not steal, ambush, or give false testimonies. يعني الآن مثلا some علماء, if you stay with them even يعني 1 year, and someone comes to you and they say that this person, he stole my house, you can't believe it. You just can't believe it. You find it very, very unacceptable. It does not mean that it is not possible. It's possible to happen, meaning rationally or reasonably. But reality, the habit prevents such thing to happen. Clear? ولهذا, the more you know about a person, then the more that you will know about the nature of the statements ascribed to him. ولهذا he said rahimahullah, he knows he would not steal, ambush, or give false testimonies. This can also be said about the tabi'un of Medina, Mecca, Sham, Basra, because these are the places where the Sahaba radiallahu anhum resided, and the tabi'un took from them. Whoever is familiar with the likes of Abu Salih as-Samman, Abu Salih Dhakwan, if you read about him, because he reports from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu a lot, he reports from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. If you know about him, you find it very difficult that he will lie. The only thing that we are afraid of is what? He will commit mistakes. He will do mistakes. He said, like the likes of Abu Salih as-Samman, Al-A'raj, who? Abdurrahman ibn Hurmuz, rahimahullah. If you read about this man here, he won't even lie to an animal. An animal, he won't lie to an animal. مثلا say, then when it comes, he will take his head. They won't do this. ما يفعلون هذا. Some of them, others swear, they say, Wallahi, we don't know that this guy, since he accepted Islam, lied. أصلا يا إخوة, if you go on top, تسمى الطبقة العليا, those the earliest generations of التابعون, in this طبقة أصلا nobody lies. Nobody lies. When did they begin lying? The lying began after the killing of Uthman. But those tabi'un up till the year 30 or 25, okay, 25, you would that those people in this tabaqa, in this class, they don't lie. ما في أحد. It's أصلا amongst the Arabs, it's very bad to lie. Native Americans, by the way, it's shameful if you lie. You're not man if you lie. There is some chivalry, some shahama. Lying is a very bad attribute, by the way. If you lie, it's very bad. Very bad. Usually you will find a liar is coward. They usually come together. A person who is a lying person, he's a coward. But if you find the Sahaba and those earlier generations, they are so courageous. So it's very unlikely that they are liars. If you read about this is one of the benefits, that if you read about their biographies, it will enhance your belief in Allah and His Sharia. He said, rahimahullah, Al-A'raj, Sulaiman ibn Yasar, Zayd ibn Aslam, and their contemporaries will know that they would not purposefully ascribe lies to the Prophet ﷺ. Let alone those scholars who are greater than them, such as Muhammad ibn Sirin, rahimahullah. Just to say that he lied, it does not work. You feel it difficult in your tongue to say Muhammad ibn Sirin lied. Muhammad ibn Sirin lied? How? It does not work. Or if you say Sa'id ibn Musayyib, he would lie. Sa'id ibn Musayyib would lie. You would expect if Sa'id ibn Musayyib lies, then anybody would lie after him. Rahimahullah. He said, do you know that Sa'id ibn Musayyib, he didn't miss, not he didn't miss the salah. For 40 years, he didn't see the back of another person. 40 years. What does that mean? In the first row. Is this a behavior of a person who's, not only that he will lie against the Prophet ﷺ? ولهذا يا إخوة, they used to be, subhanallah. Look, Talha, and I'm just giving you as an example. Talha bin Ubaidullah once saw Umar during night, the dark night. He enters a house of a woman, then he leaves. And then Talha, he went and he knocked the door. You say, what does this? He said that when I entered, I find a very ugly elderly woman. يقول very ugly elderly woman. قال عجوز شوهاء. Then he said that, what does this man come to do? She said that he comes every night. He comes, bring me food, vacuum the house, make things clean, and everything is set. Then he will leave. Then Talha said to himself, woe to you, أعثرات عمر تتبع. Are you going after Umar? Woe to you. You're going after Umar. You doubt Umar. You have doubt in Umar. Woe to you. ويلك. عثرات عمر تتبع. You go after Umar. هذا ذكره أبو نعيم في كتاب الحليم. How Umar? How can we even doubt that? رضي الله عنه. So those men, هذول هذول رجال. رجل هذول ما يعدلون الدنيا بما فيها. They sometimes believe that they lived in al-Jannah. They lived in al-Jannah and then they came out. Sometimes they have reached a level of belief. A person will feel he's nothing. He's nothing compared to them. Radiyallahu anhum wa rahimah. He said, let alone those scholars who are greater than them, such as Muhammad ibn Sirin, Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad, Al-Qasim Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, Alqamah ibn Qais al-Nakhai. Every time that they see him like khirqa, like hada. Why? Staying all the night, crying. What? Now some people, they don't pray well. They, backbite and they don't even recite al-Fatiha correctly. And if you say to him, Ya akhi, what is astaghfirullah? I say why? And his heart, not dependent on Allah, full of al-'iyadhu billah, jealous, hiqd, وهكذا. While those people sometimes they don't even, some of those surroundings, you say, we don't know that they commit sins. We never saw them doing sins. And with that, they stay the whole night crying. And he said, subhanallah. Who are we? Who are we? We are playing here. We are just playing. فهذا علقمة هذا علقمة بن قيس النخعي الأسود بن يزيد النخعي and others. If you read about them, he said that if you read about them, what do you know? You know for surety that they won't lie. You know for surety that they won't lie. He said, rather what is feared is that they may have made errors as mistakes and forgetfulness often affect people. However, certain scholars are known to be far from this, meaning from mistakes, definitely. He said this is known about the likes of Sha'bi, Amir bin Shara'il al-Sha'bi. يا إخوة, هذا عامر بن شرحيل الشعبي used to stand on the door of al-Kufa, because they used to have doors for the cities, because you have or gates. هذا الشعبي used to stand on the door, and he will count people who entered and they made hadith inside, and he will repeat it. Those who will get out, He will know that when they get out, and he will know the hadith that they say. Amir bin Sharahil al-Sha'bi, rahimahullah. Also, he said, like al-Sha'bi, al-Zuhri, هذا محمد بن مسلم بن عبيد الله ابن عبد الله ابن شهاب بن الزهري. هذا they used to say in Medina, oh Allah, make him commit mistakes. هذا الزهد. Subhanallah, you know autism? You know autism? You know, because if a person has some autistic disorder, they, subhanallah, they memorize. Sometimes you can take them by a helicopter, let them see Alexandria. Not even sometimes Alexandria, you know, the entire, sometimes DMV area. They can write it. They picture it. I saw this, and he was actually, African American. Subhanallah. He pictured it in New York. He pictured it in New York, and he write it. Yeah, he drew it. By only once, and he was still young, because those autistic, Allah Azza increases their memory, and sometimes their smartness. So that's why they find it difficult to live with normal people. They just can't. They feel different people. I feel sometimes الزهري and الثوري, especially الثوري, I feel that if he is diagnosed, he's going to be diagnosed that he has some autism. الثوري, especially his behavior. هذا now we're talking about الزهري. الزهري, you know كتاب الديات, the book of diyat, of blood money. It was once read on the minbar في مسجد Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He heard it. Then they said, who knew it during the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz? He heard it once. Then he repeated. Copy and paste. Subhanallah. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. He said, الزهري and عروة بن الزبير also. هذا قتادة من نعام السدوسي البصري. He once said to a person, I will recite to you surah, and he was, by the way, he was blind. كان أعمى. He said, I will recite to you surah al-Baqarah. He didn't even miss a letter. He said, لأنا أحفظ لحديثي من سورة البقرة. I memorize my hadith more than Surah al-Baqarah. They were so well memorizers, or memorizing. He said, and الثوري, هذا سفيان بن سعيد, and I don't know of any person like this person. Unbelievable هذا الثوري. Unbelievable. يقول يحيى بن معين, anybody disagrees with الثوري, فالقول قول الثوري. هذا يحيى بن معين says, شعبة, if he's told that the Thawri is disagreeing with you, يقول دمغتني, I am defeated. He will concede immediately. شعبة used to say, الثوري يحفظ مني. رحمه الله. فالثوري, ولهذا الثوري, if he commits a mistake, it's very difficult for علماء الحديث. Very difficult. For them, if you see one of Imam al-A'immat al-Hadith say that Thawri committed a mistake, or he's wrong, or other person is doing right, he has exhausted all possibilities. He won't be courageous to say it until he exhausted all possibilities. He's so very well scrutinized. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. Imagine a person so scrutinized by the likes of who? By Ahmad al-Bukhari, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Ali ibn Madini. They scrutinized him. They go after him because their intention is to make him mistaken. And they were not able to make it. عبد الرحمن بن مهدي يقول أعياني الثوري. عبد الرحمن بن مهدي, أعياني الثوري. I'm not able to find out that the Thawri can commit a mistake. If you ask عبد الرحمن بن مهدي, do you know a mistake by a Thawri? You say no. Imagine you see a person, and the Thawri used to report to Ikhwa. You ask him in the graveyard, you ask him in the market, An entire يعني مثلا you can, while you're walking in the streets, now what do? You take your phone, right? Then you Google things up. You can Google a theory up. You can Google him up. And he's not mistaken. Subhanallah. He said he said, especially Az-Zuhri and Al-Thawri in their times, it is said, indeed, Ibn Shihab Az-Zuhri rarely erred, even though he narrated many hadiths and had an expensive memory. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. طيب, so we stop here and we're going to continue inshallah in the following week. بعون الله تعالى وتيسيره. Any question related to the materials we went over tonight? Yes, Abdullah.
So, Shaykh, the books of history, are they necessarily written with this in mind, or sometimes the reports, they have historical reports, can be denied?
Look, ya ikhwa, the books of history, they are written in two types. One is collection, like the book of Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, تاريخ الأمم والملوك. هذا يا إخوة, he was working under the principle من أسند فقد برئ. The one who gives you is isnad, then he is exonerated. He is free from any mistakes. So why? Because he is giving you the isnad. For Muhammad ibn Jarir, he was of the intention of collecting everything. So they are not trusted in this way. So they need to be sorted out, but not based on the method of al-muhaddithin, based on the manhaj of al-hadith, on the rulings of al-hadith, but rather on the principle. Then you have another type of collections, which what we call al-tarikh al-jam'i al-riwa'i. Okay? يعني the person who writes history, he does not give you chains, but he gives you accounts. Okay? These are the histories of the likes of al-Mas'udi, al-Muraj al-Dhahab, the likes of a lot of history, مثلا تاريخ ابن الأثير الكامل, مثل تاريخ ابن الجوزي المنتظم, and these histories. Then we have the third type of history, which is initiated by Ibn Khaldun in his Muqaddimah, which what we call the analytical history. So it's not only about giving you, not only about collecting, not only about accounting, but analyzing. So the raw materials are there, so he is analyzing to reconstruct history and to understand the commonalities from which we can deduce rulings, historical rulings. Okay? That you have these three types of history. عندنا التاريخ الذي يسمى تاريخ الجمع يسمى الروائي. There are two types. عندنا الروائي وعندنا التحليلي. So you have the narrational history and you have the analytical history. The narrational history is of two types. Collection, okay, without accounts. Collection and accounts. Okay, those are called narrational history. Then you have the history that is analytical. Yes, you're about to ask?
Yeah, this is, you briefly mentioned it, but as for the theology of the Christians in regards to the Old Testament, how do they reconcile with the fact that those prophets did not, the nature of God could not have changed, even if they believed that it was for that time? How do they say that the Trinity exists now and it didn't exist?
They don't deny the fact that, from their perspective, they don't deny it as a fact that the prophets didn't preach Trinity, but they were preparing for it. So they say that, yes, they were not requested to believe in Trinity, nor they were requested to preach it, but they prepared for it. They prepared for the coming of Jesus, for Christ. This is how they usually preach it. So everything, if you say that, why do we need sacrifice? They say that sacrifice is a must for the forgiving of sins in the Old Testament. You say, well, they used to do it as a ritual, not to forgive their sins. They say that, but they used to do it as a preliminary foundations for the Lamb of God, that is Jesus. هم هكذا يعني في العادة يعني this is how they usually theologize it. لكن يعني a lot of they believe, then they go to scripture to find that what supports what they want. And it does not make sense, and they know that. ولهذا if you just push back and you continue to push back, they say that it's a myth. يعني they will say that it's a myth. It's faith. You need to believe. طيب, I can't believe it. You need the Spirit of God. You need the Holy Spirit. That's why. Then you say, okay, now he believes it. Now you have the Holy Spirit, and this person has the Holy Spirit. You give us different accounts, different beliefs. Which one is? What is the Holy Spirit? Which one? ولهذا, if you ask 3 Christians about the Trinity, they will give you 4 answers. And this is يعني clear, and it has been tested and videoed. It has been videoed in multiple occasions. In New York, it has been يعني experimented. They did a lot of experiments, a lot of dua. They did this. They would ask multiple Christians. They will give you different accounts of Trinity. Not only that, one person in one setting, he will give you multiple answers. Well, sometimes it means this. Sometimes it means something else. فسبحان الله يعني فيحمد الله الإنسان على الهداية. ولهذا they say it's faith. There is it, Jesus loves you. God is love. Why do you love Jesus? Because he came and, I used to have drugs. So what? So I used to eat, have drugs. Now I'm good. A Hindu can say that. A Muslim can. An atheist can say that. So it does not prove anything. Jesus came to me. How do you know? How do you know? It's just emotions. ما في reason. ما في something to be supported. Yes. It says here, on what grounds did some of the Salaf make takfir of Hajjaj? Oppression, killing. The account that they made takfir of him is because he made it allowed for him to kill. استحل الدماء المعصومة. That he makes lawful to kill protected souls. That's why they consider him to be disbeliever. نعوذ بالله. نعم. لكن هو صحيح لا الحجاج لم يكن لكنه كان باغيا خبيثا. حجاج خبيث. نعم.
Do we say that the basis of a historical event is multiple reports, figure reporting?
Again.
So we use this method to accept or reject reports.
Yeah, but not in the nature of hadith. Historical events, tafseer, maghazi, this what we just mentioned.
The foundation of the event is based on not this, because this is to reject or accept. But going back to the original story, we use frequent reporting to establish the event.
No, what we're saying is that now, what would make the event true? What would make it true? لا, it matches reality, right? Yeah, it took a place. Now, for it to take a place, if we know about the event through narration, then 4 things must be excluded, crossed out. That he is not lying, intentionally not telling reality, or he is not mistaken. No, there is a collusion, conspiratory processes that they are behind or incentivizing telling the story. And fourthly, there is no coincidental happening. Once you exclude all these possibilities, then you are only left but with authenticity of the event.
My question is, what establishes that it took place, it matches reality?
There are multiple ways, but you are measured by this frame of reference. This is the realm you work within. This is the qaida. This is the theory. So in every step that you are investigating a historical event, you are working within this frame. Is it mistakenly? Yani you try to, yani your role is actually not to confirm the event, but to remove all possibilities that would make it not happening. Because now, did it happen as a default or not? Al-asl that it didn't happen. So then you are actually investigating through the obstacles to make sure that these obstacles remain there. Once you remove these obstacles, which is these four possibilities, then you are only left with the authenticity of the event. This is a good measurement. Like what I say to you, they have discovered it in the philosophy of history. They have discovered it in the 19th century by Langlois and Obesius. Langlois and Obesius. Now,
It can only be conceivable. You have multiple reports to do this. To cancel out the four possibilities, you need a lot of reports.
not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sometimes, like what I say to you, it depends on the nature of the report. These four possibilities, not necessarily to be with multiple reports or reporters. لا. Because again, sometimes you need the nature of the report. Like what I say to you, the nature of it. مثلا, if your son, he's in high school, they usually, come back at what? مثلا 4:30? 2:30. Okay, 3, okay, 3. Okay, they usually come at 3 p.m. You were waiting for him. He came at 5:30. Another day for the entire week. Say to him, where were you? He said, well, we have laboratory work. We were in the lab. Now, do you need a chain to prove this? Now, what does the nature of this report is related to? The truthity of it related to what? طبيعة الخبر هذا ما هي؟ أنت what do you هذا الخبر what do you want from it? So what? Why are you even bothered? Maybe your son is what? You finding that his behavior has changed. مثلا, or you're finding out his grades went down. Or you're finding out that he's actually doing well. Or you're finding out that he does not come at the same time. You notice also that there is something going on in the neighborhood. مثلا, you need, why are you bothered? Okay, what's the nature of this report? Why are you even asking? Okay, so he comes at 4:30, 5:30. So what? So the answer of so what will determine the nature of the report. What is the nature of it? Based on which your investigation will be different. So, for example, if you are concerned about his safety, you're gonna ask who? Sometimes you won't even ask who. You will go to the police. You will go immediately to the police. You see that, is there anything going on in school? You won't even go to school. If you're not concerned that much about the safety, but about the performance, either it's going down or going up, then whom you're going to ask? You will go to the teacher, right? So it depends. You can, the type of it, but all of your attempts to make sure that he's not lying, that he's not saying things accidentally or mistakenly, he is not conspiring it with others, that he will conspire with the teacher, that if you call the teacher, that he will say, we were in the lab, because your son is giving him $200 every day. مثلا, And fourthly, that he is not, it didn't happen coincidentally. That statement that he's given you, it didn't happen coincidentally. All of your, the type of investigation will determine, the nature of the report will determine the type of investigation. But in every possible investigation, you are working with this frame. Making sure that you match these four possibilities, where you exclude them, and hence you're going to confirm the authenticity of what he's saying to you, or that he might be mistaken. Not necessarily that he's lying, but he might be mistaken. واضح؟ But not necessarily that he's not telling the truth. He might be mistaken. الله يوفق الجميع لما يحب ويرضى.